Welcome to Dealmakers and Fakers, the podcast for founders, operators, and investors obsessed with raising capital. I am Niclas, managing partner of spectup. We have helped companies raise over 120 million US dollars. And capital markets are what I live and breathe. But this show isn't about theory. It's about the people who actually got the wire. In each episode, I sit down with founders, executives, fund managers, and VCs to break down how they really waste the money. The wins, the screw-ups, the red flags, and the deals that almost died. If you want unfiltered fundraising stories from real deal makers and maybe a few fakers, you are in the right place. So let's get into today's episode.
All right, perfect. Lars, thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm very excited.
Me too. This is actually like the third episode right now, and I have just one question so that we can warm up the audience here. I would like to ask you, what's your personal short story why for starting DeepImmo, and what problem did you see in the real estate market back then?
Yeah, it's an amazing question. I learned the hard way moving to Munich that the real estate market is better, is very good in one thing, which is intransparency. And this intransparency feels like someone should be profiting from it, but in reality, there's basically not really anyone profiting from it. Every market player has costs with this intransparency. And we were always fascinated by creating a decision fundament to make really informed and precise transaction decisions for real estate, whether it's for a private person who wants to rent or buy property, whether it's for an investor, or whether it's how we do it now with DeepImmo for the real estate agent that has to negotiate and enable, so to say, the transaction in the end. And we were fascinated by this. And personally, I then worked at a consulting company, which was really exciting for me. I loved the job, I loved the company, I loved the team. It was really motivating. And we basically solved this transparency problem there on the big scale, right? For the big product developers, for the large investment companies. And they were like, wow, that's so amazing. We should allow this solution to be there also for who cannot afford these big ticket projects. And that's how DeepImmo was started then 5 years ago. And now we're at the moment, we're a platform that monetizes transparency on the market, which is really exciting for us.
This is super exciting, and honestly, I always see what you do and I love it. So we had already a conversation, I think, many years ago, and just to give some background, so Lars and I, we actually went to the same school, so that's how we met, and I know Lars already since many, many years, and I saw like how you grew the company over time. This is like honestly super inspiring. I saw like that you call your technology Real Estate OS. So my next question would be like, how would you describe this tech to people who don't have like a technology or agent background? Like, what are the key features that you currently have?
Yeah, so one of our vision points, so to say, is to have this operating system, right? That's part of our investment thesis in the end as well, an operating system for the real estate world. And for us, it's important that it's open to all members of the real estate world. So it's not that tailored or designed to one specific group. What do we think about? We have three factors that are relevant for us, right? So if you think about buying your own property or renting a property, there's also usually three things that come into mind. First, it's the property itself. So how good is it renovated? What condition is it in? How large is it? How's the view from the balcony and so forth, right? So all the information that are relevant for your personal property that you would like to move in. Secondly, it's the location. And that's actually how we started as a company, with the location. That's what's usually described on the market as the three most important factors for real estate. And that's also really important, right? Does it fit your specific need? Because we always say location is not good by default. It's good by your personal taste. So you, for example, Niclas, you would love to live in Schwabing in Munich because it's amazing. It's the right place to be for young people. But maybe people that have a family don't want to live in Schwabing because not tailored for kids and all the stuff. They want to move into a different suburb, right? So the second part is the location. Understanding location, how it works, and depth, which qualities, but also which disadvantages it has, is also the second really important point. And the third part is the market. Right? Is this price good or bad for the property? The combination of this location and this property, is it valuable or is it not valuable? The offer that you're getting, is it attractive to you personally or not attractive to you personally? And we try to combine these three things into one single platform that allows you basically, Niclas, to specify who you are, what you want, and where you want to go to. And then the platform will allow you, based on actual and real data, to show you which locations are relevant, which properties fit your need, and which also fit your budget. And this is, so to say, the foundation of the real estate OS, and also what we want to get to in a couple of years. So this is still a long way to get there. And today, DeepImmo is the acquisition tool for real estate agent. So the real estate agent has the task, and it's a big challenge, to evaluate the property correctly for the seller of the house. And then he comes to the seller, and the seller of the house has their own opinion of how much property is worth, but doesn't understand the consequence of too high prices or the wrong marketing and so forth, right? And what does DeepImmo do today? Basically simulates. We call this a clone of the real estate market. Who will be the buyer? Where are they coming from? Why are they moving there? What kind of budget do they bring? And all of this is simulated in a virtual space, presented to the buyer. And with this, our customers actually are able to find the right balance on the market and therefore sell efficiently for both parties. And this is a big advantage because in the end, it provides a great customer experience. To the owner and the buyer of the house. And this is something that has not really been there in the past because of this big intransparency problem.
That's amazing. And actually, I also have one real estate agent sitting next to me in this co-working space.
Oh, amazing.
And he tells me all the time, like the struggles he has when they negotiate with the property owners, like what the right price would be. So I already mentioned to him, by the way, you should test DeepImmo, go to Lars.
So probably, kind,
so probably he will hopefully reach out to you soon. But thank you for explaining. Also, like if there are any people interested in that solution, check out deepimmo.com.
Yes.
Perfect.
Because we haven't adopted the fancy .ai yet. So no, it's .com, .de, wherever you will find us.
Maybe you should do that for 2026 so that you can increase your valuation by, I don't know, like 30 to 40%, just if you have AI in your domain name.
Exactly. But we will talk about this, I think, today in the podcast a lot. So you listen we have some different opinions to many things that are, let's say, publicly cool in the market, so to say. So that's also one of the reasons why we didn't adopt the .ai yet. We will learn more about it later.
All right, perfect. Yeah, super interesting. So yeah, definitely, like the focus will be on your capital raise story. Just before we go into that, I just have one last question so that the people understand better your company and the size as well. Maybe you can just tell us like how many people do you have currently in your team? I see so often that you hire new people in the moment. And also like the product stage, you described it already, but maybe you can just briefly tell us like what is planned maybe in the next year if you want.
Yes, absolutely. So just as a quick recap, DeepImmo was started actually in the shared apartment of my co-founder and myself. We lived in Munich together until beginning of this year, actually, I think. It should be, or was it last? I'm not sure, actually. Wow. So for a very long time. And during COVID, we started with DeepImmo. And then for over 2 years, we actually were working from the kitchen of our apartment. And as two non-engineers, back then there was no Lovable, right? So we somehow had to try to figure out how to build the first version of DeepImmo. And then we went onto the capital raising story because we realized, right, Lars and Tim, we are not capable of building the platform that we believe has to be there on the market. So we just need to expand and grow the team. And as usually with software, you have to invest before you can monetize the software. That's a bit a tricky part with SaaS, right? Then at the moment we are 24, 25 people in the company.
Wow.
We've doubled this year and we've doubled the year before. So these are very big challenges for us to actually sustain and survive. It's not easy to have this growth in a company. It's a big strain on everyone that's involved. And we have similar plans for next year, right? So our target for next year then is to be around 40 people in the headcount. So there's much to be tackled. And the good part about what's coming up next year, not too much to talk about, but we always have this little bit secret philosophy to not mention too much on what we're working on, but there's effectively 3 major focus areas for us. At the moment, we are a tool in the workbench of the real estate agent, so to say, and we want to become the workbench within the next year. And we've worked a lot behind the scenes this year and the year previously to integrate many of smaller solutions that are out there on the market into this real estate to S solution, so that the users of DeepImmo don't have this platform breaking experience anymore, but they can, on the one side, understand the market, understand the values, understand the leads, understand the customers in one solution, and then are also able to present this directly on the market without leaving the tool, without migrating to PowerPoint or somewhere else. So we're thinking a lot about the seamless user experience, which we have to get into in the next year, where we are not at today. So that's the big focus point for us for the next year then.
Thank you for sharing that. That's super interesting. And honestly, Lars, congrats on your growth. That's really impressive. I mean, I still remember when we met, and I also saw the pictures when you worked still in the kitchen. So this is like a super interesting story to hear. That's amazing. Now,
every time we meet at Christmas, I remember when we met also with Lauren, and then I always say, I'm not sure if we will be there in 3 months. And I mean, you can't say this today anymore. So luckily we are a bit stronger now and more reliable. But still, of course, everything is very much on the edge, right? It's a walk on knife's edge always to push the boundaries of what's possible, but also to not, let's say, bankrupt the company in the process. That's very difficult to navigate. So we have a bit more experience now, but still we want to push what's possible. And this, I heard this one sentence, when you have everything under control, you're not fast enough. And loving motorsport, that's a bit something that resonates well with me. So I'm very optimistic and positive for next year, but it's going to be a big challenge for sure.
I agree. And the speed maybe brings us now to the next topic and also to the main topics of fundraising. Of course, I'm super interested to hear about like the origin of your original round. And you mentioned already it was like not the typical standard VC round that you closed. So maybe we can start and you tell us and the audience here, like what was the situation where you realized that you need external capital, and how did your round then also work out?
Yeah, so I mean, the need for capital, this basically explains itself a little bit when you try to build a big platform. So DeepImmo was never this one feature that suddenly would break the market and we would skyrocket, but it's more, let's say, a marketplace solution where everything comes together, everything gets more integrated and becomes a more seamless experience. And this just needs time to build up. And only when we are getting to this position, we will really have an innovative solution on the market that really transforms the experience that is there today. So I always knew that we had a long way ahead of us. And we also knew that the real estate market, and especially technology on the real estate market, is not sleeping. There's much capital invested, and there's many great solutions and many great companies and founders out there that push amazing products forward. So we knew we had to become the best in all these dimensions. And as both my co-founder and myself, we are no engineers. We just, let's say, through trial and error, built the first software of DeepImmo. We knew, okay, we had to bring a great team on. Before starting, we realized we need to bring in capital, because with the features that we are able to build initially, we can never grow on our own at the speed which we need to get to this platform solution that we have envisioned, so to say. And basically, we had this weird experience. So we went to these entrepreneurship centers in the universities in Munich, which are generally amazing and very fascinating. But for DeepImmo specifically, we had this very weird conversation that stuck to our mind, and we were presenting how all of a sudden this magic transparent tool will solve all these intransparency issues on the market. Yeah. And then they said, that's very nice. Maybe you call a private consumer and ask them whether they have this issue. And when they say yes, then you build this manually for them and help them. And then you can prove that, let's say, there's a need. And we said, so that is the situation today, and that is how it's solved today. So they will not realize the benefit of what's going to be there. So we had this bit of a weird situation of we can only prove that it's innovative when it's there. And you couldn't, let's say, shit talk into it, so to say. It would have been a bit easier with the AI tools that are out there now. So, for example, Lovable we use for prototyping, which is amazing to have these capabilities at hand. But it wasn't possible back in the day. So we said, okay, we have to venture out and build the first version ourselves before we go to investors. Because I also, based on my consulting background, this was, let's say, really hard work, and really intelligent people that were working in the consulting company where I was at. I said, we have to have a solution first before we can fundraise, else I feel like I'm bullshitting. And based on this, we built the first version. Back in the day, this was like a report that would explain the location. You remember?
I still remember. And maybe I will maybe just put one example into the description so people can also check it out if you want, because it would be super interesting to see like the evolution from back in the days to today. That's just insane.
Niclas, the funny thing is the product, so we have all our analytics deployed in the platform, right? We analyze what the users are using and whatnot. The product is still at the top 3 products that we have.
Oh, wow.
I would have never thought. I thought this was a step for us to get to the next stage, but it's actually still quite in demand. Yeah, but then we let's say we got told in university and by friends, you need to go to VCs and they will give you the money to hire a great engineering team and to go forward from there, so to say. And we said, okay, we have no clue, right? We were 21, 22. And we were not the people that were dreaming to have a startup since they were 5, right? We basically ended there by accident because we felt the solution has to be there. It wasn't there, and we felt we have to build it. So this wasn't a dream to have a startup all of a sudden, right? Yeah, and then we did fundraising. So my brother was working at a venture capital company back in the day. So we asked, how do you build a pitch deck? How do you build a financial model? I mean, we knew also softly from the consulting background. And we ventured out and built a network. I think there are some questions also later up coming this direction, right? But we then fundraised. We had plenty of conversations with smaller and bigger PropTech, let's say, direction VCs. With generally good conversations, but first-time founders, 21, PropTech, and then we were building software in PropTech, which is also a bit consumer-focused, right? Because it's effectively a B2B2C solution that we built. Yeah. It wasn't too attractive to the market at the point. And then the few conversations where we were really forward in investment gremiums, we often had the response, and who owns the money that's coming to the VC? Real estate investors, often in Germany. And they got successful without technology tools. So they didn't see the need to create new technology, right? They were more interested in optimizing their building and the construction potentials and so forth. So we had relatively bad feedback, but from the vision, everyone was generally interested in. And back in the day, then we more or less by accident through our private network, we met a family office. And we then realized that there's not only VCs that would be open to invest this kind of money, but also private individuals. So we were at the time not talking about this typical angel ticket of 50,000 euros, but it was 300,000 euros for a pre-seed round, which is not bad in Germany. It's quite a lot more money, actually. And then we met with this family office, and these were relatively quick conversations. So we had a clear, both similar vision on where the company should go to, how we would work together. And then within 1 week, we structured this whole thing. Oh, wow. And I mean, this was also, to be transparent for us, so really last moment, right? There was not much where we could still have gone on for longer at the time. So basically at the last second, but everything worked flawlessly together and perfectly together. We had a similar outlook. We said, this sounds great. And then also it's our business partner of ours. Effectively, we don't see him as an investor anymore. He himself is still very active in the business environment, right? He built the money that he's investing by himself through his own company. He's very active in M&A investments privately and also business-wise. So for us, we felt we speak the same language. We have the same entrepreneurial spirit, so to say. Let's go, right? Feels good. And that's how we started. And we actually, since then, always stuck together. So the company, the family office, is still our business partner. We are still financing together the company until this day. We are not yet cash flow positive at the moment. We're working hard towards it, though. And we have been partners since. And this is amazing, right? This is a completely different path than which you would go normally as a last company, but for us it was a quite rewarding one because we coming from, let's say, a more professional background. We felt building an actual product that solves actual needs, it creates actual revenue. These were always values that would drive us as well. But then having the freedom to go in a direction where we believe the company should go to, although we didn't have too much experience, was also important to us. And this is something that the family office can afford, this risk profile, but a VC fund often can't. And this was for us then the ticket, so to say, to try to prove that the vision and the idea behind DeepImmo is worth it. And I'm very happy and very grateful that it came together like this.
This is super interesting. Thank you for sharing that, Lars. I have so many questions right now, so I just have to prioritize in my head what I will ask you first. Because like regarding family offices, I see it all the time. Like everyone always thinks, hey, we need like VC funds, but of course there are like different investor groups and each investor has like different priorities. And in the moment, I also have the feeling more people know about family offices and that they even exist. And I think the big advantage about family offices is that they do not run through a very, let's say, long process that is similar to like a VC fund. If you want to get funded by a VC fund, you typically start with a call with an analyst, and then you have to move upwards so that you finally meet like the partner and they discuss your opportunity in a partner meeting. But compared to family offices is often a little bit more leaner. Of course, it depends always on the hierarchy and structure and size. But I agree on everything what you shared, like sounds like the perfect fit for you. And also sometimes they are very good as they also be strategic partners, similar to what you just explained. Like many VC funds I know, they really just give the money, they wire the money, but then you're part of their portfolio, but they are not really operational involved. So I think also here, this is like a big difference.
Yeah, I think so. The overall investment approach is probably relatively similar on how you would, let's say, get into the meetings. When we did the fundraising with VCs, right, there's this famous saying, it's going to be unpopular, but right, VCs are like sheep, right? When one sheep is walking across the farm, then it's not really interesting. But when 10, 15 sheep are running, all of a sudden the whole group of sheep is running behind these sheep. And that's a bit the whole philosophy that you try to create when you do fundraising. And this is something you have to learn, right? I didn't knew. I wasn't expecting this kind of behavior. So you have to create this hype, and you have to have hype on the market, and you have to have hype for your company. And so it's very important to throw out words like "I'm already oversubscribed," right? Even though you have had 2 talks, so to say, and. Then we had a similar story, right? So we had plenty of analyst calls. For us, it was really important to get good introductions. So you just don't send them into the info box, but you go to LinkedIn, then you say, Niclas is working at the mega VC fund, and then I see, Niclas has a common friend, Thomas, and I write Thomas, hey, can you introduce me to Niclas, right? And you do this for 50, 60, 70, 80 VC companies, and then you get something that's called a warm intro. And then you do the call with Niclas, who is then, let's say, softly briefed on what you do. And then, of course, Niclas, there's all sorts of different Niclases out there, right? There's a Niclas out there that will fuck you up. And you will get out of the call. No, but I mean, and to be honest, this is the best thing that can happen. Because you need critics. And I think this is one of the biggest mistakes that I see people doing. They think they know everything and they have seen and lived everything. And the reality is they don't. And no one has. So the best thing that can...
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say this is so true. Like, especially founders, I think very often I see that they think they know everything. But yeah, like feedback is good. I think one challenge is just to prioritize and structure it in a positive way. Because if every VC gives you feedback or every investor, it will be different each time. So I think some feedback will be worse than other feedback. So how did you then prioritize or try to improve? Like, how did you do that?
I mean, for us, the good thing, so to say, was that both Tim and myself, we have consulting background, which I don't want to hang up too high. But what does this mean? We were taught to think analytically. And this is something that for my old job was extremely important, to think analytically. And I feel this is an important trait also to anyone trying to do something. To question, to let's say, consider your own ideas, but also other ideas. And we just always reflected on what the people were saying to us and what we were also thinking ourselves individually. So for us, it's the number one rule for us is always the ego is outside of the door. When you come to the office, the ego stays outside. You can do privately what you want to do, but in the office, there is no ego for any colleague that's working well together. And the same is when there is, let's say, a VC company or let's say us sitting together, I would have zero ego in trying to say, I'm this important guy. No, I'm not. I'm completely irrelevant. And so are you. And therefore, as two people that just have a great opinion and a great idea, we share these thoughts. And then all of a sudden you have a great connection. And then the person usually becomes more relevant, because then, Niclas, if you give me great feedback or interesting thoughts, or especially criticize me in a positive way, this becomes really helpful for me, because I'm like, I'm very thankful that Niclas has this view and was able to tell this to me. And this is, so to say, what we did then in these calls. And one of the, I remember one of the calls we had is someone from a, let's say, further or later stage VC was we doing a trial pitch with him, and he was really grilling us. And I never had this experience before. And intuitively, I would have, or both Tim and me would have gotten out of the call and be like, oh man, this feels so bad, we shouldn't do it. But interestingly, it felt the opposite way, because we realized where he was grilling us on, and was stuff like there was mildly important, right? But the stuff that was crucially fundamental to where we wanted to go to, he was quite positive on. And so we always went this one step ahead. And of course, you also have to be careful, right? There's many people out there that are just super important and know it all. And then you build this personal detector, so to say, this bullshit detector. And I think this is just having 50, 60, 100, 200, 500 conversations like this. And then all of a sudden you build a certain gut feeling on.
This is great advice. I have one question also, because you mentioned in the beginning how important it is to keep the hype up. And you also mentioned that the family office investment came really in the right time. And if it came later, it would be very difficult for your business. So how did you do that? Because honestly, this is, from a psychological perspective, super difficult. Like, you always need to be positive. You need to sell what you do. It's all about selling. So how can you basically keep this hype and positivity up when you know like how difficult the situation was for you and your company at this point?
So to be transparent, we fumbled the hype, right? We learned afterwards that we should have kept it up, so to say. So we stretched out the process across too much time, right? So we had first interviews as trial interviews, but they went really well. But then they were asking, who are you also talking to? But then we didn't have enough people that we were talking with, and I don't like lying, right? So I was never the person that would go ahead and say, this and that. That's not me, and this will never be me or Tim. And then we had to get into the second round of conversations, so to say, where then, so to say, things were stretching, and we didn't really create this hype, and let's say, the hype, if there was any, we fumbled, definitely. But you were asking also about how to keep the spirit and the mind up.
Yeah.
And I think this is something that you cannot prepare for. Doing fundraising or generally starting a company and then continuing to do so, we do this for 5 years now, is extremely tough. And I don't say this now, Niclas, you know me. Don't say this now to come off as a cool guy. I'm just saying it transparently. It is really tough. And right when you meet friends in the evening, like we did a couple of years ago, and things are looking really bad at the moment, right? And then everyone's asking, how are things going? How's the business? How's this? How's that? How important are you? And then let's say, on the one side, being honest, but on the other side, also don't losing trust in yourself is really tough regularly. And we always had this dream, right? We wanted the platform ourselves as users and as coming from this industry. We wanted to have it. So there was always a very intrinsic motivation that was the solution for the market and the product, and not any monetary incentives that were coming afterwards. They were really irrelevant to us, and they are still today to a pretty certain degree. So this, I think, kept us pushing for a very long time back in the time, and is still doing today. That we are very interested about the market, the solution, the company, the team, and very little about the financial incentives, because I think this will break away at the earliest convenience. And then you will just go on. I mean, there will be another day. You will wake up again, and the next morning there is this cycle always, right? In the morning you wake up and you'll be like, what the fuck am I doing? How will I survive? Why am I even doing this? It feels all super weird. And then even you go to bed with full of self-esteem, and you'll be like, we're building the greatest company in the world. And then you wake up, and it's the cycle every day. And you get used to it, right? The human brain gets used to everything. But also you just keep pushing, and then things will work out somehow.
I feel you so much right now, but I also feel that you are super intrinsic motivated. And I think this is also, as you said, like the big difference, especially if you are raising your first round. It's really about showing what type of founder you are, and that you are building a business that you want to push and move forward, so that it's not only because of money, it's really a mission that you have, and that you want to solve this problem for the market. So I think that was probably also the reason why the family office decided to invest into you, because they saw you as someone who will be able to build this up. So yeah, that is at least my feeling in the moment. I have one more question regarding your pitch. So did you see like any metrics that were like very important? I think at this point, everything what you did so far was, I'm not sure anymore, was it pre-revenue, or did you already have some revenue at this point?
We had very soft revenue, right? So a couple of, let's say, 2,000-3,000 euros per month, which is very little revenue at the time.
Okay, got it. So the focus of the pitch deck was then like more showing the vision and the growth that you plan to do in the next years.
Yeah, I mean, so with DeepImmo, we are still relatively far away from where we want to get to. Right now, today, we have all the, let's say, technical foundations to get there internally already today, which is what gives us a very strong feeling to push forward at the moment, right? There are no boundaries anymore that we need to break through technologically wise. We just need to continue building now step by step. But back in the day, we always knew that the, let's say, innovation potential from the market, right? Of course, we try to find innovation in every small solution, but the big one, the big thing that we try to build is to find this unified real estate to S solution, an operating system for the real estate transaction. And this has not been there. And to get there, you just take time. It just takes time. So we always knew that although investors will be like, what's your traction, right? This is the most important buzzword that you will hear when you raise your first round. What's the traction? And you can pull all sorts of stuff out of the backpack to showcase some traction. But for us, we always knew that with the products that we had at the time and that we will have for the foreseeable future, it's not really possible to build immense traction. Right, because it's always going to be small tools in the tool stack, and only at the point where we will build this, let's say, workbench, only then we will be ready to have really significant traction on the market. This is what we see since a couple of months. So for this year, we had every month we had over 10% revenue growth every month, and last month we had almost 20%, so 19.6% we had last month. But this is something that we only see since a year, right? Since things start to accumulate and come together really, and we knew from the beginning that we had to get to here to start showing relevant traction, and this was really difficult for fundraising in the beginning, of course. So there was no important KPIs. It was a lot about talking, and as you said, it was a lot about trust. And for trust, I feel one important word is out. I can say it in German. Authentizität.
Yeah.
However, authenticity. So I feel this is crucial to show to anyone giving you 50, 100, 500,000 euros that you are yourself, and that they believe that you will push no matter what's coming to reach these goals. And I feel I didn't realize at the time, but I hopefully we managed to do so. Probably that's why this business relationship was also established then with the family office and our business partner now. But this was for us the most important part. And we feel still this is in our company today very important value that we want to see in every team member, and also how we want to be seen on the market.
I mean, this is super important for the growth and especially for a team. So I think that's a very, very good choice. Now, I just wanted to briefly also speak about the PropTech market in general. So what would you give what advice would you give to founders who are building in PropTech in the moment? Do you see any trends, not only in Germany, but also maybe globally? Because I saw that you also went to the US, I think some weeks ago. So I would love to hear your opinion on that in the moment.
I think the PropTech market is a niche that is not realized by many, that it's amazing. And the single fact is that digitalization is still a key buzzword in the real estate market, right? The real estate market is super undigitalized. So there is little adoption of technology in really any branch of the real estate market. So there is big potential in any direction. And right, so there has been a big trend of energy efficiency solutions, whether it's about building materials. So a lot of the real estate or PropTech market is also about hardware, right? Sensors or construction materials. So there was a big investment cycle. This feels to have softened a little bit at the moment, primarily due to regulatory changes, right? If you take a look at how the US is behaving at the moment as a country, it's just not that hyped, so to say, anymore. AI is a big use case also in the PropTech space. There's many manual tasks that can be automated. So AI is more an automation game at the moment in the real estate industry. I feel the market is extremely fascinating. And for me personally, the motivation comes from real estate being often the biggest financial decision that a private person will do in their whole life, right? Buying a property is just the most expensive financial decision that is there usually for the average person, if they even buy a property in the end. And being a part of this decision, making it better, optimizing it, I feel is super rewarding also for the society. And this is for me a big driver that is there. And one that I think many fellow PropTech founders or colleagues that are working in PropTechs are seeing, right? Because you can really touch and see the impact of these solutions in your private world. So you have friends and family that might use your solutions. And this is super rewarding to have this connection between software and digital, but then also hardware and real life impact, so to say.
That's amazing. And I just thought also about myself, because actually we also look currently for a new apartment to rent or to buy. We haven't really decided yet. But like
Let's
the process,
let's sit together.
yeah, like honestly, the process is so old school. Like basically in Germany, we just use like this one app called Immo Scout, and then you look for something, you write them a message, and this is everything. Like nothing in between from a consumer perspective, but also probably from a property owner perspective. This full process feels super boring and slow and not really technology driven. So I definitely see what you say. I also think PropTech is super interesting. We actually work also with one PropTech startup in the UAE region right now. So hopefully we will also get them funded. Now we will come to an end. So I would love to ask you one last question. And that is basically more about your general advice. So if you would now raise another round soon, what would you do different compared to your first round that you did with the family office?
So we did a couple of in-between rounds already, right? So it's not that we only did one financing round, so to say. What would I do different? I think,
or maybe you wouldn't do anything. Maybe you wouldn't do anything different.
So I think when you would go through the let's say fundraising for the first time journey again, so starting a new company, you would do a lot of things differently, of course, right? Because and that's the reason why first time founders just don't get financed a lot, or if all, because you just mess up many things. And there has to be someone that's willing to pay the price for these mess ups in order for you also to learn and to grow with it. That's same in sports, right? In Formula One, you have to have a seat in Formula One in order to show how fast you are, and might come out that you are not fast at all. But there has to be someone willing to take the risk in the end. And if you have proven once that you have been fast, it's way easier to get you into the next seat and to the next seat. So probably starting a new company, we would probably do relatively a lot of things differently. But I think at the moment we've found our way, certainly. So I think one thing that's super crucial, talk very early with customers and with many as possible. You always have this feeling, and this is the typical learning that you will just have, and that, however, also you will be taught, right? It's going to be like this, you will not believe it. Talk with as many customers as possible. Be open about your solution. There's this famous meme, right? First-time founders, they will let you sign an NDA. I have a couple of friends that think about founding a company, and they say, I can tell you, but you have to sign this NDA. And I'm like, take a look at my calendar. I'm not going to copy the business. So, and then you have, let's say, people that did this more often, and they will like shout everything on the market to the deepest detail without even founded a company yet. And I think somewhere in between is certainly the balance, and this is something that probably we should have done more. Talk more with people that we don't know earlier on. And yeah, I mean, follow your gut feelings. This is very important. Follow your gut, believe in yourself. We did always, but this is something still that has to be said, right? Running a company, founding a company, you will hear no 85 to 90% of the time. And when your personality is not built for this, because you need to hear yes all the time, then it's just the wrong space to be in. And this will continue, right? This continues to this day, and this will continue for the next 10 years. We will hear no way more often than yes. And you have to accept it, and you have to like it even, right? It's a bit weird, but you have to like it and push through. So I feel stay true to yourself, be curious, right? Question things, not in a sexy way, but question things literally, right? Ask why and how, and about yourself, about your company, about your business plan, and yeah, follow your intuition. I think being yourself is probably the most important thing. You will find colleagues that want to look at you and want to follow you as a person. You will find investors that want to fund you personally and your way and your way of thinking, and that's for me the important part. That's being able to stand up in the morning, look yourself in the mirror, and see the sweat coming from your head and thinking, what the fuck, but believing in it and still continuing. That's a bit what I would suggest going at. So different answer to the question, probably, Niclas, but I think you take away something from it.
Yeah, definitely. No, that was super helpful. Thank you for sharing that, Lars. Are you currently open also for like new investments, or do you just stick to the one family office? Just asking because maybe we have some investors hearing this podcast, and if yes, maybe it's like the right time for them to reach out to you on LinkedIn.
So we were talking about the hype cycle, right? Yeah. So the most important thing when someone asks this question to you is, no, not at all, right? We are so overfunded. We have so much money on the table. We don't even want to talk to any investors. They could never offer something better than what we have at the moment. But this would be the correct answer to give to this topic now. Reality is we are very comfortable and very confident in our partnership that we have together with our business partner, and very proud about it. And at the moment, we are also financially pretty capable in the situation that we're in. We have different goals, so to say, though, to the future. We want to geographically expand the company to other countries. And there is money that needs to be invested, big amounts of money that need to be invested. So we are balancing a little bit at the moment on how we can efficiently spend the money that we have available as a board, so to say, on the growth of DeepImmo. So for sure, in the future, we will do financing rounds. They might come into very early PE rounds, actually. We try to get there ourselves at the moment, right? We try to skip the whole VC side of things and get into the, let's say, a bit more professional side of early PE investors. We have quite a good network there and many talks and conversations that are going on, but this is stuff for the future. That is not, let's say, necessary now. It's more about having coffee talks, keeping up to date and talking about what's going on. But there are so many challenges coming up that we will not be able to solve only based on our in-house know-how. So what we're looking forward, if we would bring someone in externally going forward, is someone that can help us expand to other geographics and tackle all these complications that come with it, because we don't want to pay the let's say the learning curve there ourselves, but we rather want to tackle this together with the next additional business partner. But that's a bit how we see it today. So we are more looking softly for co-owners to a certain degree going forward that help us bring the company to the next stage where it has to get into. But we try to be as efficiently and stretch it as much as we can in this phase from internal board possibilities.
That makes sense. Thank you so much for explaining. So if here are like any real estate agents, real estate owners, or people who want to buy property, definitely check out deepimmo.com. And I will also link to your LinkedIn profile and to your website so everyone can find you.
One thing.
Of course.
But first of all, thanks a lot for mentioning that. We always explain to our bigger customers that they effectively invest into us. So what matters way more for us than, let's say, having capital at hand is customers. We try to get cash flow positive. We are on a good path towards it at the moment. And any customer, whether it's 99 euros per month in a normal subscription that we get, or it's big tickets where it's sometimes five figures per month in terms of subscription packages. We always tell them, effectively, you will invest into us. You know your product, you know your customers, but we bring the speed from and we have the innovation. And together we will build this platform for the future, both of us. And the most that our customers can do, and that's more helpful to us actually at the moment, is when we get more customers, because then we can finance our growth going forward, which gives DeepImmo shareholders, and a lot of our team is also invested into the company themselves, who gives us as owners of the company the possibility to build the right product for the market. And this we have to do together with the market and not necessarily together with investors. Right, and therefore we are looking very much on let's say fundraising with customers eventually.
That's amazing.
Not for equity, but for the product, and that what motivates us. So that's the path that we would like to choose going forward.
Oh, that's a very good strategy. I really like that because it also makes sure that you stick very closely to your clients and that they also feel that they are part of the journey. So that sounds amazing. Lars, thank you so much. It was really a pleasure to have you here, and let's catch up soon.
The pleasure was mine, Niclas. Thank you so much for hosting me.
That was today's episode of Deal Makers and Fakers. If you took away even one thing that you can use for your own ways, do please 2 things for me. Follow the show so you don't miss the next deal story. And share this episode with a founder or investor who needs to hear it. If you are gearing up for a serious raise and want support with your decks, with your numbers, with your strategy or investor outreach, you can find me and the spectup team at spectup.com or on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, in capital raising, everyone sees the headline, but very few really see the real deal. See you in the next episode.